Hi guys, and welcome back. I know in previous videos that we had talked about the fact that we were going to do water samples this summer that were supposed to be really fun. But as you can tell, I'm really cozy, and I'm cozy for a reason. And I would like to make a big disclaimer for here first, okay? And it's controversial, take it as you wish, whatever that may be. First of all, I am completely and totally for cannabis and THC being legalized for medicinal uses or whatever uses, okay? Particularly when you're buying them from reputable sources that actually have, regulations behind them. I have been extremely sick. And we couldn't figure out why, which is why we weren't able to do the water samples. So the disclaimer here is basically the fact that I'm completely behind getting THC and cannabis legalized for medicinal use, recreational use. I see no harm in it. The only thing it ever freaking does is make you hungry. Okay? But the reason I'm making this video is because I found out that there is an extremely rare downside if you have this problem. I went through severe bouts, and if you don't want to know the details, you can skip ahead. Okay? I went through severe bouts of extreme dehydration. I could not keep any of my medications down because I was constantly vomiting. So basically a lot of my medicines were cold turkeyed, which was not great because I'm on a lot of mental health medications that you cannot cold turkey, so therefore I was hallucinating a lot. Also, I had extreme gastrointestinal distress, and like I said, skip forward if you don't want the details. I had extremely bad diarrhea, and everything was putrid green. I felt horrible. I personally, I shit you not, I wanted to die. Okay? I was dehydrated, I was vomiting, I was in pain, I was having diarrhea, and nothing was helping. Okay? So I went to the hospital because I was getting really dehydrated and I was in a lot of pain. And they were like, oh, it's just a stomach virus. I was like, okay, this is like the worst stomach virus I've ever had in my life. Because remember, I've been sick my whole life. And I've had many, many stomach viruses. But none that felt like this. None that made me so dehydrated. None that made me vomit as much. None that taking a sip of water would immediately cause me to throw it back up. Okay? So they gave me 3 bags of fluid on the first day. They gave me morphine for the pain, which helped. And they gave me through the IV Finnegan the first time. Okay, well, we went home. And the very next day, we had decided to go back to the hospital because I was not getting any better. The medicine was not helping. I was still getting dehydrated. I was still vomiting. I couldn't stay out of the bathroom. And things in the down under were very, very, very raw. So we went to the hospital again. Well, they were like, okay, well, we're going to run tests. Problem, I was so dehydrated that when I was in the hospital the first time, it took them 5 tries to get an IV in 5 different places. When I went to the hospital the second time, it took them 4 tries. And they finally ended up getting an IV. But they still were hard-pressed to get any blood out. Now at this point, remember, I'm vomiting, I've got diarrhea, I'm severely dehydrated. I can't pee. I couldn't pee, so I couldn't give them any urinalysis. Finally, when the weekend ended, I went to my general doctor. And I'm sorry if the camera is shaking. You're standing on about 20 boxes of switch cases and a charger. Anyway, I went to my GP, and he was like, something's not right here. There's nothing I can do for you. You need to go to the hospital. Why haven't they admitted you yet? And I was like, I have no fucking clue. Because I was sitting in a wheelchair in his office because I was too weak to walk. So he called an ambulance and took me to the hospital, where I was actually admitted to the hospital. Now, while I was in the hospital the second time, they ended up giving me 3 more bags of fluid. So when I got admitted, they gave me a bag of fluid first, and this time it took like 6 tries to get an IV. I was covered in bruises and blown blood vessels. I had wraps around my hand because the blood vessel that they were trying to get in my hand, they couldn't get it, and basically the saline was going underneath the skin. So I had like this bubble on my hand that they had to end up wrapping so that way it would heal properly. So when I was finally admitted to the hospital, they gave me a bag of fluid, and they were like, okay, well, out of the little bit of urine that you're able to give us, you have a urinary tract infection. So they gave me antibiotics, and they gave me morphine for the pain. Downside for morphine for me, I get morphine brain, and not in the cloudy, head wavy kind. No. When I was diagnosed with autism, I was also diagnosed with ADHD, but the psychiatrist told me the reason why I'd never really feel or experience a lot of the ADHD symptoms that you would see typically is because my anxiety is so bad that it literally wears out my ADHD, and my anxiety just basically takes over. But when I get morphine, my brain won't shut up. I can't sleep. It just keeps going. Okay? So, and they gave me Finnegan for nausea the first time. Okay, and then they hooked me up to another bag of fluid. And they had already given me a bag of fluid while I was waiting to be put in a room. So now I'm on my 3rd bag of fluid after being admitted to the hospital. So I spent 2 days in the hospital and was given more fluids, more anti-nausea medicine. My blood sugar was dropping dangerously low. Luckily, I was able to sip on some grape juice. I'm so thankful for the nurse that I had, because she was like, babe, we got to get something in you. Your sugars are dropping, and we got to do something. If they keep dropping, you can't go to sleep. So she brought me some grape juice, and it just wasn't working. But I was able to keep some of the grape juice down because they had already given me Finnegan. I'd gone through a dose of Zofran, and I had already had my morphine and stuff like that. So it just like sippy-sippies, just a sippy-sippies, okay? Well, they ended up bringing in this bag of basically sugar water that they were hooking me up to, okay? And I was starting to feel better, okay? I was starting to feel better. Nothing was perfect. I was still vomiting. I still had really bad gastrointestinal distress. My blood pressure was finally evening out, though. And because I felt more like myself, I was able to, like, sit up. I was able to put my own socks on. They were like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. You are going to be put on a special diet. And when you follow it, when you follow up with your general practitioner, when you can schedule it and stuff like that. And after spending 2 days and 2 nights in the hospital, they finally released me and sent me home. Well, I went to my general doctor a few days later, and I was still in pain. I was still having a lot of palpitation issues. My chest was hurting. My head was killing me. I was still dehydrated. Keep in mind, at this point, I had already had like 12 bags of standard fluid, 2 bags of sugar water, big IV bags. I was also sent home with an antibiotic because the antibiotic they gave me through IV in the hospital did not kill the infection, so I had to be sent home with antibiotics. So I go to my general practitioner, and he said, "I figured it out. It's not a stomach virus. This is not even your GERD." Because I was diagnosed with GERD and IBS when I was very young. I was diagnosed with cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Now, keep in mind, I started smoking pot when I was 14 years old. And I used it for a very long time. And then I stopped. I stopped for a very long time. But in the last year, I started using THC that I would get from like a local vendor vape shop type deal. I'm not going to say who because they're great people and I do not want their name dirtied or muddled. But I was diagnosed with cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Now, the whole reason I'm making this video is because, first of all, it's an extremely rare syndrome. Really rare. Like, to a point that the whole time I was sick, from the time I went to my GP the first time to the time that I went back, it took him this whole time to literally mark everything off the list and finally figure out what was wrong with me. And we've had blood tests and stuff like that done, and this is what it is. And cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome has a few very bad symptoms that come along with it, which is continuous vomiting, and it doesn't matter how much or how little is in your stomach, you're going to vomit it up. Abdominal spasms, which was the pain that I was feeling. I actually got like my little packet that he gave me here, and it's not great because basically having cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, the THC bonds to certain parts and molecules in your brain. I'm not a scientist. I am going by what I've been researching on my own, what my doctor has been explaining to me, what the nurses have been explaining to me. And keep in mind, in the hospital, the doctors and nurses were concerned that I might have diverticulitis. And diverticulitis is a condition where it causes bouts of just uncontrollable vomiting. Okay? And they were like, this really sounds like diverticulitis. Well, I had never heard of it, and I was like, okay. So I went to my gastroenterologist, or I called my gastroenterologist, and I told her what was going on and their worries about me having diverticulitis, and they decided to do an endoscopy. Well, the endoscopy, for the most part, was fine, except for the fact that they had to remove a couple of polyps and the sphincter at the bottom of your esophagus that keeps food in and the acid in, and it was very weak. But keep in mind, I have GERD and IBS. But cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS for short, basically eats away at electrolytes. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I was getting so dehydrated, alongside the vomiting and the diarrhea and everything. And it can cause weight loss and fluid loss and belly pain and just ongoing nausea. And this is like anywhere you look at cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, it is going to like list you 3 ways of how much you'll vomit. It will tell you constant nausea, bouts of vomiting, and uncontrollable, like, what did it say? Oh yeah, repeated episodes of vomiting, ongoing nausea, and loss of fluids through vomiting. In parentheses, in vomiting. a very, very small number of people have this syndrome. And that's the only reason I'm making this video, is because, like I said in the beginning, I am all for the complete legalization of cannabis, THC, Delta, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fucked with, basically. Okay, like it's just THC. It's pot. That's all it is. Because I used it, but to help me gain weight, because I've always been very underweight for my age and my height. I'm short for the average height of a woman. I'm short. Because like I said, I've been sick my whole life. I had cancer when I was a baby, and all the chemotherapy and shit made me short. So I've always been under height, and I've always been underweight to a point that I was nothing but skin and bones sometimes. And like, Children's Resources were called a few times because they thought that my parents were starving me. And this is just something that needs to be more widely known, because the doctor assured me that I quit using it immediately. As soon as my general doctor found out, he was like, "Are you still smoking? Are you still like using the THC? Are you still vaping the THC? Are you still smoking pot?" I was like, "Yeah, it helps with the nausea." He was like, "Stop. You've stopped now." And I was like, "Why?" And he told me that I had cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And he said the thing is that yes, the THC is going to help with the nausea, and it'll help with you keeping food down, but it's only temporary, and it's going to rebound. So while I was vaping the THC, I was making myself feel better, and I would get better for like an hour or two, but then I would rebound worse than what I was making myself feel better with. And basically my body rejects THC. Now here's the problem. He assured me within 10 days to 2 weeks I would start feeling better. And I have. But he also warned me that some of these side effects, some of these problems that I have from this syndrome can last for months. And I don't know what side effects they're going to be. And he couldn't even tell me what side effects there could be. It could be the diarrhea. It could be the belly spasms. It could be the headaches. It could be the blurry vision and confusion. I'm still battling the UTI because the THC would not let my kidneys filter stuff properly, and I was given antibiotics at the hospital. I was sent home with antibiotics because they still couldn't get rid of the infection. When I went to my GP, and he was like, "Hey, you got this." He did another urinalysis, and the UTI is still there, and it's worse, and it's spreading to my kidneys. So I'm on another set of antibiotics, and I just feel like this syndrome needs to be, it's very new. Not like new, like discovered this year. I think the earliest cases I've been able to find was there was 9 people in Australia in 2009 that were discovered to have this syndrome. And from what I've been able to find, only 4 people in the US. And I guess I'm number 5. My point is that this syndrome is nothing to fuck with. Like, I am on a very restricted diet because the belly pain is terrible. I actually have a IBS medication that I have to take. I have to take hycosamine in order to stop the belly spasms, because my stomach, my belly lining, my stomach lining, my large intestines, and my lower intestines will start spasming. And there's days that go by where going to the bathroom is a little easier than others. Some days it feels like my entire body is going to be flushed down the toilet. There has been times where I have just continued to throw up. I am officially basically immune to Pepto-Bismol. and I have to take Phasime daily along with an absolute disgusting amount of pills a day in order to get through this. And I just want more people to know that while I completely back getting, the THC pens and the THC mods and using cannabis and all of that, this is something you need to be very aware of, because this has put me through hell. Now, if I didn't have cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, bet your bottom dollar I'd still be using it, because it helped with my anxiety so much. It really did. It helped with my anxiety so damn much. It also helped with my appetite. It's helped me gain weight without the prescription that I've had to take, because I have to take Magestrol, which is it's a breast cancer patient medication that they use to give them an appetite and help them, keep weight up or gain weight. And that's the only thing other than the prednisone that I've ever been able to find or use that helps me gain weight, except for THC, particularly THCA. It not only helps my anxiety, it helps me with my weight and everything. It helps with the pain in my back, and it's an indica, so it's a blend, I believe. I'm not very educated on the 3 different types, but I know mine was an indica. And I know I'm umming all over the place. And yes, I still vape, but it's just purely vape. That's all it is. It's juice. There's nicotine. That's all it is. Because I have to flush the THC out of my system. And like I said, I completely back it. But I feel like this is something more people need to know about. And I know I don't have very many subscribers, and I probably won't ever have very many subscribers. This is not a job for me. It's a hobby. But of the 22 prescribers, I don't have no brain. Let me double check here, because I think I have 22 subscribers. I have 33. I have 33 subscribers. Hello, 33 people that watch me. I have 33 subscribers, and I want every one of those 33 people to know and understand that cannabis is not a bad thing. THC it's not a bad thing. It's not. But keep in mind that this syndrome is a real thing. It is very real, and it is very painful. And I'm sorry about the glare on my glasses, but I just found out that I have to wear my glasses basically 24/7 now. I actually have 2 sets of glasses I have to wear. And I've only met one other person, which is my sister-in-law, that knows, she was like, "Are you okay?" Because she met me at the eye doctor, and she was like, "Are you okay? Did you get over the stomach virus?" And I was like, No. She looked at me funny, like, "Are you here with a stomach virus?" I was like, "It wasn't a stomach virus. I was diagnosed with cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome." She was like, "Oh, yeah, that's a real thing, man." And I was like, "Oh my God, somebody that fucking knows about it." And it's just, God, it's so terrible. And it causes so much confusion in your head because you get dilated so quickly. And like I said, by the time I got done with being in the hospital, going to the hospital, visiting the doctors and all this crap, I already had 12 bags of fluid. I just finished another Gatorade, just to try and stay hydrated. The medicines that they give me for the diarrhea don't do anything. I'm basically immune to Pepto at this point. Actually, I learned last night that you can't actually get immune to Pepto-Bismol. What happens is that what Pepto is supposed to do, if you take it on a regular enough basis in order to treat the problems that you're having, you can make them worse. Yes, you can make them worse. It can also make you very sleepy. I didn't know this. But I also wasn't taking Pepto like every time you turned around. I got the little capsules, and I would take them when I took my Phazyme in the morning, because the Phazyme, I want to tell you something, Phazyme has saved my sanity, because it helps. It's an anti-gas medicine, because my belly looked like I was 6 months pregnant. That's how much gas was building up, because part of this syndrome is that it slows down how quickly your body can digest food. Okay, so as your body's digesting the food in your stomach and normal gases are being released and stuff, and it's supposed to be breaking down and then moving on into the, the rest of your system and everything, it's not. That's not what it's doing. It's continuing to decompose in your stomach, releasing these gases. And every time that I would belch, it would smell and taste like sulfur. Like, I ran my husband out of bed at one point. It was bad. And yes, this video may be TMI, but this syndrome needs to be known about, because it fucking sucks. Okay? It sucks. But luckily it is fairly rare. But unfortunately, that's also a problem, is that it's so damn rare. And I'm still going through it, and I don't know what side effects are going to stick around. And if I could, I would still be vaping THC, because it helped so much with so many things. But I'm not one of those people that can. And I completely back it. Even though I have cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, and I know that it's a rare condition, and I know that not very many people have it, and I know that there's still some people that are trying their hardest to understand this syndrome, I still back it. I still 100% back cannabis and THC usage. It's just, I'm not one of the people that can use it anymore, unfortunately. And that's just, it's unfortunate, and I'm going to have to rely on, unfortunately, more medications in order to help control my anxiety and my weight and my depression and all that, which the THC helped with. But I feel like I just got unlucky. And one of the problems is that I was too young when I started smoking it. I was 14. And keep in mind, I didn't hit puberty until very late because of the cancer and the chemotherapy and the radiation. I didn't hit puberty until I was 15. I didn't know that girls were hitting puberty at 12 and 13 years old. I mean, my son's 11 and he's officially hit puberty. I hit puberty really late. So my brain was not done developing, obviously, because I was 14. But I also had not hit puberty yet. And the THC molecules will attach themselves to, like, molecules in your stomach, too. And I have heart palpitations. I've always had heart palpitations and a heart murmur, but they've never been bad. But because of the dehydration and the tiredness and the vomiting and all of that and the pain, it was making them worse. Like, it was hard to breathe, and my chest was just hurting and stuff like that. And I just feel like this is one of those things that needs to be more widely known. And I feel like I've rambled enough at this point. I really do hope that we still get to do the water sample, the water sample experiment that we're wanting to do, but it's not going to be right now. I may post more videos, but I really felt like this video needed to be made, because it was such a surprise that the doctor came in, because he came in the room, and I was feeling a little bit better. I could walk on my own. Still nauseated, and I was in pain and everything, but I could walk on my own. I didn't need a wheelchair, so I was sitting in the chair, and he walks in the room, and I was like, "Hey, man," and he sat down, and he was like, "You still using cannabis?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Stop." And there was like a dramatic pause, and I was like, "Why? It's helping." And then he explained it to me, and I had to have him, like, write it down or print it out or something. I was like, I am never going to remember the name of this, because I'm going to end up, relaying this to my husband when I get home. And he was like, don't worry about it. I'll print you out a whole packet. You can go home. You can research it yourself and everything. But yeah, this is what you have. You have cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And basically that means that my body rejects and misuses THC. So all I'm saying is be very careful. Get your THC from reputable sources. Get them, and I don't mean like, curb store type THC mod, CBD shit. No. No. Don't trust that shit. I don't trust it. I don't trust it with a 10-foot pole. Go to a reputable vendor. An actual reputable vendor. There are even vendors online that you can trust. As a matter of fact, Real Veed is one of them. And that's literally real as in REALVEED. I did do 2 E's, right? VEED. Yeah, okay. They're very reputable. I use their gummies and candies a lot and stuff like that because I can no longer take anything with THC in it. Cookies, brownies, any kind of edible. What are they called? I forgot what they're called. The little jelly thingies. They're not gummies. They're like little jelly thingies. They're like they look like Jello. That's why it looks like Jello. They're just tiny little squares that you just right out of the little container. And but I felt like this needed to be made. And I don't care if only even one person sees it. At least that one person now knows that this syndrome's a real thing and you need to be careful. Luckily, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome typically only happens in people who have used it for a long time. And keep in mind, I said I started smoking pot, back when pot was just like pot, not 100 different damn names or whatever the hell dab is now. I know that makes me sound really freaking old, but keep in mind I was born in the 1900s, as the kids like to call it those days. No, it was just weed. It was just plain out weed. It was just plain weed. I started smoking it when I was 14. And I am now 33. And normally this syndrome really hits people that have used it for a long period of time on a regular basis. Now, even though I did have a large gap where I was not using it, when I went back to using the THC and stuff like that, it just, I guess that was kind of like the last straw. I guess that's my own. I'm sorry, I keep looking over here because I keep forgetting that my camera is right here. But yeah, it sucks, and I don't know what to expect for the next few months, like, because when my best friend had her baby, I was supposed to be going over to her house on Mondays to watch her baby while she slept because she works weekends at the hospital and stuff like that, and I haven't been able to do that. And I hate that I haven't been able to do that, and I feel like a terrible friend, and I feel like, and this is part of my anxiety speaking, is I feel like, she's disappointed in me, she can't rely on me, that kind of thing, and it makes life difficult to just be constantly ill like this. And I finally got to like hold and see my youngest niece, my sister's daughter, and she only weighs like 6 pounds. She's an itty bitty little thing, but she uses her feet a lot. She uses her legs to kick a lot more than she does anything else. And just having her wiggling around and holding her while we were giving her a bottle was causing my entire body to shake with exhaustion. Like, my knees were about to buckle, and I told I was like, Cindy, you got to take her. I can't, I'm about to, my knees are about to give out. And I didn't want to drop her. So I gave her to Cindy and I went down and I was like, okay, I can take her and hold her and take care of her as long as, like, let me sit down first, you know. But then I positioned her on my lap and her wiggling and moving and, while cute and everything. And I was trying to play with her and keep her happy and everything. Having this 6 pounds, 6 pounds, mind you, 6-pound baby wiggling and moving and kicking on my lap was too much. I was in pain. I thought I was gonna throw up, even to a point that I went outside and I sat down on the ground because I figured, I was like, if I throw up out here, that's even better than like making a mess of the bathroom. Because when you get nauseated, when you have this syndrome, or at least for me, it's not, no, this is like exorcist shit. It really is. It is terrible. So just holding my 6-pound niece was so bad. And my best friend's little boy is 6 months old now, so he weighs much more. And driving is difficult for me because I'm staying like really confused and cloudy headed, not just from the THC coming out of my system, but a lot of the medications that I'm on. They had to add 5 medications to my pharmacy that I already take. Sorry, I'm still belching. They had to add 5 medications to the prescriptions that I already take in order to help me get through this. And the only ones that seem to really be helping, one, sorry again, I'm telling you, this is not fun, is the hycosamine. If I miss one dose, and actually the other night, I missed my dose by 1 hour because I was playing a game with Craig. Because what I'll basically do is I'll get somewhere comfortable, I'll get cozy, and I'll have everything around me that I need so I won't have to move to agitate my belly. And I missed my dosage of my hycosamine, which is for the belly pain and the IBS. I missed it by 1 hour. And I got up to go to the bathroom. So I went to go wash my hands and turn off the light, and I hit the floor. I fell to my knees because the pain happened that quickly. Everything in my abdomen started just spasming. It was so painful. I started crying immediately. My husband had to come in there and get me up off the floor and get me to somewhere I could sit down so that way I could take my medicine and pray for the time for it to kick in. And I'm not religious. So all I'm saying is that if you've been using this for a very long time, be very careful. And again, I'm completely behind the use of THC and cannabis and the legalization in all 50 states. Screw the Bible Belt. I don't care. It has so many good medicinal uses. And for a long time, it really did help me. It helped me gain weight. It helped me keep an appetite. Because I've got pictures from when I was in high school where I was nothing but skin and bones. Nothing could help me gain weight. Nothing helped me gain weight. I even went through a time period in my life where I would have to eat meals with like a protein shake / nutritional shake. My surgeon told me that she wanted me to end every single day with a damn milkshake just so I could get the extra calories and fats and sugars and shit in just to gain weight, and nothing helped. Not a damn thing helped. But the THC did. And it helped with my anxiety. It helped me calm down. It helped. Like, I don't hear voices like I'm a psychotic or anything. I don't hear voices in my head like it's other people. No, they're my voices. And they're constantly saying, you need to worry about this. You got to do this. You need to do this. Everybody hates you. What are you worried about? What are you worried about? And you need to worry about this. You need to worry about this at the same time. What's Matthew doing? What's Craig doing? What's Shelby doing? What's Daniel doing? And it helped. It helped shut my brain up so I could relax. So, it's a good thing in so many ways. And I've heard stories, and I read a case file on a dad that had a daughter that had epilepsy, and he gives her, they live in a state where it's legalized, and he was able to get this actually as a prescription. It's liquid THC. And when she has a seizure, because she's an epileptic, he drips it under her tongue, and it helps slow the seizures down, and she has less seizures during the day, and it makes the seizures easier to get through. It doesn't stop them, but it definitely helps them. And I'm going to tell you something. While I've never trusted myself to operate a vehicle, obviously, while being high, nothing bad has ever happened with, like, I've ridden with people that were high, and nothing bad ever happens. The worst thing that happens is you get fucking hungry, and like one of my favorite comedians have said, you can stare at that refrigerator and know there's nothing in it, but you're gonna open that fridge anyway to check. But I feel like I've rambled enough at this point. My timer is officially saying like 41 minutes, and I've been rambling about this. I'm hoping, even though there's only a month left in the summer for Matthew, I'm hoping that we can hopefully still do the water testing. If not, you may get to see videos of me getting to transplant my plants, because I have actually somehow succeeded to finally keep a plant alive. I don't know why it had to be carnivorous plants that I'm good at keeping alive. I mean, I tried growing marigolds, and you can grow them fuckers on the moon, but apparently not me. But I've got pitcher plants that have completely taken over the pot that they're in. My Venus flytraps are way taller than they should be. Like, I've never seen Venus flytraps so tall. And they have to be transferred, so you may get to see videos of that. But other than that, you know, for everybody that sees this, I love you guys. Be careful out there, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.